In this session, we're going to work on some more level 2 cuts, but some cuts that you don't use very often, that you don't find the opportunity to frequently employ. So they're cuts that, they weren't going to be a priority in your practice. Cuts like Liao and Pi, the ones that you can use most frequently and widely apply, those should be the core of your practice when you're working on your basic cuts and combinations of them. But want to work these in, in your larger practice over the course of the month, put them in a few times now and then, because when you can use them, it's good to have them. We want to have them trained. And so the cuts we're going to work on is a combination using the Ge cut. We worked on the Ge cut with the stepping in level 1, so we're going to look at other ways you might use that. And another way that we're going to look at of using the Ya from a movement called shoot the goose in the Yangshi Taiji Jian form. So first thing we're going to do is a combination that's going to use this Jie into a Ge. We're going to start that from a thrust. You could do it from a variety of cuts. Any cut where you were in, particularly if you're in rather deep, it could be a Pi cut. It could be that you came up with your layout. Doesn't matter. We're going to do it from the thrust because that's a pretty easy one to work from to begin with. As you're practicing these movements and this series feels good, you're getting it really kind of getting in your bones. Okay, try, well, what if I came with a Pi cut? Because sometimes you might deflect and step in and you're deeper with a Pi cut, or brought your foot up and come from underneath. This Jie is intercept. Both the Jie and the Ge cuts are passive intercepting movements. And what we mean by that is I'm receiving a blow from my Duifang, and the Duifang is in the tactically superior position. That means that the Duifang is controlling the distance and the timing. That means, okay, if I have a cut, for example, a cut's coming down on my head here, and I see that coming, and I try to step in actively, say, okay, I see that cut coming, let me try to go in and hit it with a Pi cut, there's a good chance that even if I manage to hit the Duifang's arm, I'm going to take a real blow to the top of the head. It's not, the cost-benefit analysis is not very good there, right? I want to make sure that I hit the Duifang and make it unlikely, hopefully guaranteeing, but at least unlikely that he's going to land his blow. So if the Duifang has, let's say I was in a longer lunging thrust, and the Duifang has deflected that, maybe he's got a two-handed weapon, may have a Miao Dao or Dan Dao, or is wrapping with a saber, and he's getting in, coming down, stepping in. As that blow is coming down on my head, it'd be unwise for me to try to stay close and counter, hit that hand before it hits me. To disable it, what I'm going to be doing is stepping out from underneath it. So this is the Jie movement. So if I were in my long thrust here, and I've been deflected, my sword's been moved out, and that's coming over to hit me in the head, then I'm stepping off the line and drawing the cut up from underneath like this, okay? And I'm looking back at my Duifang. Tricky things about this movement is, of course, the temptation is to really run out of the way. When you're getting this cut, powerful blow coming down at your head, right? It's natural for most people to think like, okay, let me get away from that. I really want to run away. Problem with that is, yes, you may get away, but as you're running away to the side here, you're exposing your back, and you're not putting yourself in a position where you can easily continue from there. You're not in a very useful position. You haven't maneuvered yourself to a superior position. So from the thrust here, when I make this step from my Jie intercept, I just want to take a very small step. If you look at it, you can sort of see how I'm lined up in the background there. My head is kind of lined up where that white space is between the window and the door frame. All I need to do, if the cut's coming down on my head, my Duifang's cut's coming anywhere in this region, is step a small step off the line. You can see I've moved pretty far enough to get out from underneath that cut. If I go further, and if I lean, the problem is then my blade won't contact the Duifang's hand. And that's what I'm looking to do here. From this thrust, as I'm deflected, I'm looking to let the Duifang in and passively intercept by just bringing my blade up and being in a nice sturdy position, using my empty hand here to brace, and let the Duifang basically smash his hand down into my blade. So I do have some movement, of course. There's some drawing action of my blade. I'm in this long thrust, for example. Could be a P cut, could be a layout, whatever I've come up with here. I'm deflected, and I'm taking a very small step, and I'm coming here. So, of course, my body's strong. It could be a little bit upward if I were a little bit lower. Might be some upward movement from my sword. There's some drawing action, but most of the power is being supplied by the Dui Fang's downward blow into my hand. So this is going to be a combination. Going to use ci, jie, and then from there we're going to use the ge cut. So unlike our other formations that we've used, or other pairs of basic cuts, when we were going through our basic cuts, typically if we were working on the ci or the pi, that's the first in the series, and then we see how we're skipping the stone from that. What's a good combination? Here the ge cut, because the ge cut's a passive intercept, we're using it as the last in the movement, sort of switching things around a bit. So from here, from our thrust, right, I'm going to take a small step. Think of putting your heel just beyond where your toe is there. Step, intercept from underneath. Very simply. Now, and then from here, you can see, if you see where my head is lined up, again, my head lined up where my center of my body lined up where it was before, right there with that, we see that white strip between the door and window frames. I'm going to keep my tip of my sword right there. So you see as I step back, right where my head was, now my blade is. So as the Dui Fang is coming down, he strikes his hand into the edge of my sword. If I step even just a little bit longer, and if I turn my waist too much, you see, I'm missing the Dui Fang by a foot at least, all right? So very small step. So from a nice ready position, we're going to step forward with a lunging thrust, and this can be lower, it doesn't have to be super high. The throat level is good. Small step, cut from underneath, boom. And when I take this step, I'm not drawing my hand back. This is a movement that is in a variety of forms, but you see it a lot in the public Yangshi Tai Chi Dao form, Tai Chi Jian form. When you see it, it's very often done incorrectly, done like this. Right? This feels more loose, more relaxed. But you can see if some cuts come into my head and I go like this, well, I can still hit my head before my blade gets anywhere near anything. Also, there's a tendency to draw back because this is looser. We want the arm out here where the blade is much more likely to catch my Dui Fang's hand as opposed to drawing it away where, okay, so I withdrew it almost 2 feet. Obviously, I'm going to miss if I do that. So from a nice ready position here, nice and sunk, coccyx dropped, hacking a half step in, thrusting in. Going to do that thrust at throat level. Then going to take a small step, remember, heel just beyond where the toe was, intercepting from underneath. And you see also where this is up on my eye level. Now from here, if I've just missed, or the Dui Fang coming down, it goes, it just slows for a second so I don't hit him. His blade falls in here. He's got a nice shot at my side there. And this is where I'm going to come around. Just like when making a hua cut, I don't want the blade falling back this way. I want to keep it a pretty nice tight circle around and ge cut. And then we can come back to a ready position with the left foot forward. Okay? So it's a nice combination. And it's also good to think about, as we've often discussed, whenever you're applying a cut, whenever you're looking at going out, in a sense, to cut your Dui Fang, you really want to be aware of any openings, any invitation you might be making to your Dui Fang so that you're ready to cut or deflect in, anything that might come into that opening. So from our nice ready position, coccyx dropped, breathing in Dantian, little step in, thrust to the throat, small step, intercept jie, turn the waist, ge, and come back to ready. Okay? Get it from the profile, thrust, step, intercepting, boom. So those are 2 intercepts, passive intercepts, the jie and the ge cut. Ready? Get it from this little bit from the side here, rear angle, thrust in, small step, cut down, and ready. Now remember, when you use your ge cut, when you're swinging that in, don't go past the 45. I want my blade just to go to the 45. Don't swing it wide. You don't need a lot of power. You're aiming to hit the inside or outside of the Dui Fang's sword arm. A good solid wrap there coming down is enough. I don't want to swing. Whoa, I'm trying to take his arm off and my blade ends up behind me. If I've missed, I'm leaving myself wide open. Okay, ready?